Hey guys, and welcome to Should You Buy It, where all we do is talk a little bit about the game and tell you whether or not we think it's worth the cost.
In this episode, we'll be playing Clanfolk, the medieval colony survival sim game set in the Scottish Highlands, where you will have to do everything in your power to grow your clan and survive the brutal winters.
Now, the first question that we always cover in these videos is what stage of development is the game in? And in this case, Clanfolk is currently in early access and available on PC for $20.
So what exactly is the game? Well, Clanfolk is inspired by RimWorld, but with a much higher focus on things like family growth and the survival of its sometimes brutal elements. You see, unlike similar games such as RimWorld, this game is trying to put an intense focus on survival elements rather than raw population growth and combat. While population growth will certainly be an issue that needs to be addressed within the game, it tends to have a more family-based approach.
Instead of simply capturing and forcing people to work with you, there's a higher focus on trying to build up relationships with neighboring clans. You see, there are two main ways of growing your population within the game of Clanfolk. The first is simply through hiring neighboring clan members that happen to drift into your town every so often. You'll be able to hire these drifters to do work for you in exchange for a daily fee. Then if they work with your clan long enough and there is a potential mate within the clan, then once you have raised their satisfaction to the maximum amount, you'll be able to ask them to marry into your clan and thus becoming a part of it, and you'll be now able to fully control that character.
One of the key things here though is that they have to have a suitable partner. This means someone of adult age of opposite gender. If you give them their own room and raise their moods enough, you very well might end up with a special surprise a few months later. This is of course the second way to get new people into your clan. Between all the baby making and matchmaking though, you will have to help your clan survive through the brutal seasons.
This is where the majority of gameplay and hyper-focus on survival elements starts to come in. For an example, one of the first things that the game teaches you is that you will have to be mindful of the resources around you. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about here, fishing in a lake will cause that lake's fish population to go down and thus produce less fish, or at least fish at a slower rate. This then means less food for your clan and more difficulty for you to survive. These same sort of rules will also apply with hunting animals, raising animals, and of course even things like iron. Many different resources aside from these also tend to have limited amounts of them, which can easily result in you having no way to acquire said resource once you've depleted the amount of that resource you have available to you.
In order to get everything your growing clan needs, you'll have to start resorting to trading with neighboring clans who have the resources that you want. To get them to trade more often, in higher quantities, and of higher quality items with you, you'll need to increase your reputation with them. To raise that reputation, you'll want to have people from their clan marry into yours and interact with them by doing things like renting out rooms for travelers and trading with them on a regular basis. You will want to make sure that when trading or renting rooms that you always focus on the specific clan you're trying to build reputation with, since there are quite a few within the game.
Aside from the extra focus on survival elements, I'd say at this stage the game currently has all the bells and whistles that make any colony sim game fun. By this I mean core systems like managing each family member's happiness, needing to store and stockpile food for winter, skill leveling, character quirks, and of course your work priority list, which will allow you to have workers prioritize certain tasks first. You will also have the need to create a home for your clan, and once again, like every other colony sim, you will need to make it as pretty as possible in order to keep your people happy. Along with the building system though, there is also the game's light and heating system, which can drastically affect the health and happiness of your clan members.
Now before we move into the pros and cons, we would like to mention that if you hit the join button just below this video, you can get some perks and help support this channel as well. If you do decide to support us, you can do so for less than the price of a microtransaction in your favorite demon slaying mobile game. In all seriousness though, any support makes a huge difference in the time and quality that we're able to put into our videos, and once again, to do this, just check out the join button down below. With that being said, first up for the pros is the focus on the survival elements and family. This was a breath of fresh air for us, as it isn't something you see very often in colony sim type games. While colony sims certainly tend to have elements of survival and family in them, they definitely aren't nearly as in depth and as big of a focus for the player as they are in Clanfolk. Next up is that the game provides you with a few different starting scenarios. Of course, your first time through you'll probably decide to play the pre-made clan, but we would recommend that you try out the different starting scenario options available to you your second time around. For an example, you could start with 2 children and nothing but a few coins to their name, or even make your own personal starting scenario. Finally, for the pros is that the unique setting is something that really hasn't been done before and brings a ton of future potential with it. For example, while right now the game currently focuses on survival and family elements, Scottish pride could easily result in a war between clans or even a war against England. The potential that they have with this setting could set up some seriously interesting and long-term goals within the game, assuming that the devs decide to go that route.
Now for the cons. First up for the cons is that there's currently just not a ton of content in the game, and this is true with basically any early access game, but especially with Clanfolk. You see, in Clanfolk right now, you're going to hit the end of the content available to you rather quickly, and then it will just become kind of an endless grind. I really wish there was more, but I do understand considering this game has just recently released into early access, but it is still $20, so just keep that in mind as when you think about buying the game later down the road, there might be a lot more content that's been added to the game. After that is that there is no ultimate goal within the game. I think there's a ton of different things they could implement into the game to create some sort of ultimate goal for you. Maybe it's, say, reach a certain population and then be able to become the most respected clan among all other clans. Maybe it's go to war with England with the other clans or go to war with the clans nearby. There is many different things they could do with it. I just wish they had something in there right now to give you some kind of ultimate goal to work towards. And the last con I have for you today is that the game just has some minor bugs. This isn't anything game-breaking or totally game-altering at this stage, at least not what I've encountered, but there are just some minor things you'll run across, like maybe trying to give somebody an order to do something and they don't do it right. There's a lot of different things that people have come across. I know there was one situation where some guy wasn't able to fish for some reason, and he ended up having to restart his game, I saw, but again, these are all mostly very minor bugs and totally understandable for a game this early on in its creation. With that being said though, you gotta remember that they are still charging you money for this. If this was just a beta or a demo test, we wouldn't even be making the video. But this is actually what you're gonna be charged for, so just keep in mind there will be some bugs in there when you're playing the game.
So now it's time for the rating for the game. And when we rate games, we want to get 1 hour of enjoyment out of every $1 that we spend on the game. So for this game in particular, in Clanfolk, we would want to get roughly 20 hours of enjoyment out of the $20 that we spent. And after putting several played hours into this game, we give it 6 out of 10 potatoes.
Clanfolk was a game with a very exciting setting and tons of future potential. The game's intense focus on basic survival elements offers up something different from other colony sims in a way that we certainly weren't expecting. While at the moment it does currently lack in its overall total content, we strongly feel that with some time the game will improve in this field significantly. Clanfolk certainly does have some other flaws such as minor bugs, but it also has an undeniably solid foundation for it to build upon. Therefore, we feel that even in its current state, Clanfolk is probably worth the cost.
Before you guys go, thank you so much for watching, and if you did enjoy the video, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe for more survival game content. I just want to shout out Jonathan S. and Jim Phillips. Thank you guys so much for being members. We couldn't do this without you, and also a shout out to all of our new subscribers here on screen. Now don't forget to check out all of our links in the description below for things like our music library and Epic Games creator code, as these are just ways for you to help support the channel. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching again, and we'll see you next time.